Yeah, I mean, being in a relationship for not even long, it's been 5 years, right? But 5 years seems like a little bit of time to some people, but 5 years is a decent amount of time for you to really have solid, issues or disagreements, disconnections. So I think just like with any relationship or any couple, you definitely have to figure out the best way for you to tackle those issues. And I think one of the biggest things for me, having being an independent individual, right, and an independent woman, one was that when we would get into disagreements and arguments, I was more inclined to like exit stage left. Like I was like, I'm not interested in having this conversation. Like I'm ready to go. Like if I felt uncomfortable or if I felt like the conversation was going to the other side where we were not necessarily, getting to a solution quickly enough, I was just like, I'm out of here, and Logan, he was like, you can't do that. Like, this is a committed relationship and we have to talk this stuff out. Like, we have to communicate. And I always tell people, like, one of the biggest things about marriage and being in a committed relationship is just that you can't run away. Like, you want to run away, but you cannot run away. You have to stay in it.
Sure. Now, I'll put it out there and get real and get deep for a moment. Early on in our relationship, we were definitely in the process of exploring each other, going through some of the things that I think you just spoke about being two individuals, Virgos and Aquarians, which we both represent. Aquarius here, Virgo here, definitely very individual folks. So that unity took some time to develop, but. On the real note, we had an issue where, Tamika was pregnant early on in our relationship, and we were in that process, getting to know each other, sorting through all the issues that Tamika talked about, and we had to put our heads together and really feel like, sort through what the right decision was for us together. And it could have been a make or break kind of situation, but I think it's indicative of the partnership that we had, and we made the best decision for us. So
for sure, yeah, that was a tough situation. I'm 36 now, and at the time I was 31, so it wasn't like I was a young spring chicken, right? But wasn't old. But I had never really had that situation before, and having, being in a relationship where it's super fresh, and you're an adult, you have your kind of foundational levels of you're kind of in a situation where you feel comfortable. You don't really, the person enough, but not enough. It was really, I believe it was like, 2 months in?
Maybe 3 months.
Yeah, it was pretty early, right? And, you're dealing with a lot of emotions.
Right.
And I wasn't ready. I mean, I don't think we were. And when are you ready, right? So when you get pregnant. But I think there was some serious apprehension from the case of how does this impact our relationship so early on.
Sure.
And being adults and fortunately being able to make decisions in that way, like you don't have to do something that you don't want to do.
Right.
We had a conversation, and it wasn't
lots of conversations.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. It was definitely very emotional.
Definitely.
I will say, though, it was something that we dealt with together. A lot of times people try to bring outside individuals or people to advise them about what they want to do with whatever situation they're having as a couple. And we really had to communicate with one another and figure out what was best for us. And that was tough. But
absolutely. But in a lot of ways, it laid the foundation for us to tackle complicated things together. And we've been through some things. Yeah. We've been unhappy with our employment situations and how we grow professionally. But I think we can hear each other. We can talk to each other. We can communicate. We can solve problems together. And I think that was really the first prime and significant example of us tackling difficult issues. And we've done it many times over, from something like that to figuring out how to leave Chicago and move to Atlanta and plan all that and do it together. The foundation started early with us based on our ability to communicate and work together. And that's a hallmark of who we are.
I agree. And just compromise, right? Like,
that's right.
Couples always say communication, but it really is about compromise. Like, how do you figure out what is best for the other person?
Right.
And then you meet in the middle. Like, it's all about balance and figuring out what makes the most sense for both individuals. Because as in a relationship, it's not just about you anymore.
That's right.
As much as you want it to be, sometimes it's not just about you anymore. So yeah, I mean, that was one big cornerstone for us that carried us through. Once we got through that, I got to see a different side of Logan from the perspective of him being super emotional and connected and like nurturing. A lot of times you don't always get to see that part of a man. So he was very nurturing and caring and wanting to, assist where he could. And sometimes I know as guys, it's hard to figure that out. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
he was definitely there. But I will say from a different perspective, we also had not a challenging time, but we wanted to move. We were over Chicago. I had been in Chicago for 10 years.
That makes two of us.
I had been in Chicago for 10 years. Logan had been there for 7 years?
7 years.
7 years.
7 long, cold years.
I love Chicago. Chicago is great, right? It's a magnificent city. I'm glad that we met each other in Chicago.
Absolutely.
It will always have a place in our heart. But like the cold is no joke.
That's
So
right.
it was time for us to go, and opportunities are different, right? So we have been discussing like leaving Chicago, and it takes this guy a long time to get to a place to like make a true decision.
Hey, I value my stability and our stability. So
Right. He's like the over planner. And I'm like, babe, let's just do it. Like, let's just do something, And we planned accordingly, and we got the heck up out of Chicago. And it's such a great thing, being able to be in a relationship. You need to experience fresh things, right? Like, and I think being in a new place definitely helps to increase the romance and
Absolutely.
the experience and love and just dynamic approach to life when you're in a different place. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.